not Amanda. It's actually my given name too. It's Southern though. It's Manda Sue was my middle name, so that makes a little more sense when you put the middle name. Manda. Oh,
we're sticking with Manda Sue.
Perfect. I know people do call me that, but people are afraid to call me other things, and I'm like, you can call me whatever you like. Just don't call me late for dinner. What's the saying? Yes. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm really pleased to be here because there is nothing I love more than books. Not one thing. My children, they're second for sure. They know their rooms as soon as they left were taken over by cases and cartons of books that I had nowhere else to put as I've downsized over the years. And then I did say to Keith that I just bought a house actually 1 block out of New Canaan. No offense. Just couldn't afford it here with my income, as you can probably imagine, but thrilled to still be close 7 minutes to the store and to move my mother up with me. And she came with 15 cartons of books also. So the two of us together live in a very book-ridden little cape and are very, very cheerful about it and happy. And she's, of course, thrilled that I'm running the bookstore. So this is my 15th year at Elm Street Books, actually. Wow. Yeah, I moved to New Canaan in 2006. My kids were quite little, and then I was here 1 school year, and then I moved to Hong Kong. My husband at the time was running a bank, and they hired him to run the Asian operations. So I willingly went. I was an expat as a kid, so I was thrilled. I thought this was going to be such a great opportunity, which it was. It was like a 5-year vacation, as you can imagine. That was probably the end of what Hong Kong, the height of Hong Kong. Unfortunately, it's changed enormously. I have one really good couple, family that live there, friends, old family friends. And it's just every year is just harder than the one before it. I mean, China's control is just increasingly getting harder and harder, or more cumbersome to the people that live there, especially as expats. Anyway, so 15 years, I really met Susan Rein, who is the kind of heart and soul of this operation for many, many years in a couple different incarnations, really since '03, when they launched the first kind of new version of the New Canaan Bookshop, which was owned by the Whitneys, and they owned the Hickory Stick also, so they had a little conglomeration of bookstores, and they went to Faye and said, would you be willing to sell it? And she was like, no, I love the bookstore. And then because of things that occurred in her life, she finally, or was done at that moment, ready to sell. So Mr. Horgan and Susan Ryan and a bunch of really kind investors from the town decided to pool their money and keep a bookstore here, which, amen for that, right? I think it has, fast forwarding now to this Christmas, I have to say my favorite takeaway from this Christmas was a man and his daughter who came in on Christmas Eve. We're open till 2 o'clock on Christmas Eve. We do almost 7 times our daily business on Christmas Eve, between 9 to 2. Yeah, I mean, and it's madness, and it's so fun. It's so fun. This year we wrapped almost 375 books on Christmas Eve, so that's in one day. And I put every staff member who's available on, and we all are just so fun and cheerful, and it's cool. But my favorite takeaway was the guy from Danbury who had never been to New Canaan. And he was like, I came with my daughter. She saw on a chamber social media TikTok that the chamber's kind of been doing these, to promote local business. And we came, and this town is a gift. It is unique. It is interesting. We have a couple big chains, but for the most part, really cool, little, unique opportunities to buy things you wouldn't normally have. Great lunch. He had lunch at Rosie. He had a blast. He goes, I'm going to go home and tell my friends about it. And that's what makes me so happy, because I feel like our store, as small as it is, it's 1,800 square feet. It's not very big. Hopefully, I think, is becoming a destination for some people. I talk to Krista Carr at the Glass House all the time because I have seen an enormous amount of clientele coming in now from the Glass House that come and shop because they do their tour, they come down the street, and they come into the bookstore. And we're trying to get that Harvard 5 book back into print too, Keith. So we've been working on that really hard. because
And
that thing
someone
is
stole the museum's copy.
no. Do you know what that thing is worth? I mean, it's $500. You can't find a copy under
And we can't replace
$500.
it. Yeah.
So we've been on a letter writing campaign. This is kind of just a non sequitur because the Harvard 5 book is probably our most popular book that we used to sell. We sold 1,000 copies of it probably over the years. Can't get the darn thing. And now if you find it on the resale site called a Libris, it's about $500 to $800 if you can even find a copy. Most of the time there's not even one available. Anyway, so I digress. So that was kind of my kind of foray into book selling was from Nantucket, actually, because I was very, very lucky in my marriage to have Nantucket as a summer residence. My ex-husband was actually from there, and so I got super tired of playing tennis and eating lunch, and I was like, what do I like to do next? I love to read. So I went and begged a job from Wendy Hudson, who had just taken over Mitchell's at the time. And she was like, really, you want to work? I'm like, I've got to do something. My brain's like going to mush. And long story short, that's how I met Susan Rein. Because Harry and Susan, I happened to be on the board at the yacht club. They were applying for membership. We met. She's like, what do you do? I said, oh, I work at Mitchell's Bookstore. And she goes, you should come work for me in New Canaan. And I was like, weird, I live in New Canaan. So it was like a good combination. And we've been really great friends and partners really ever since. Like I said, this is my 15th year. In 21, I took over as manager of the store. I have been the front list buyer because I was the most obnoxious customer at that store because I would come in and I'd say, I just went to 3 other bookstores, in my travels, and I could spend hundreds of dollars buying these books. Why don't you have these books? We should have these books in our store. And the manager at the time was very sweet about it because she didn't get mad or angry. She just said, come work, because Susan had introduced us, and she said, and start buying, because then that way you can curate the store in a way that heavy, deep readers want to come in, and you can buy all the bestsellers, which we try to display for everybody, because this is a town that loves bestsellers. They love the newest hardcover book. If it's been on any morning talk show, I sell at least 3 copies that day of it, because we're just like instant gratification residents, and that's great. Thank God. Like that's a bulk of our business, really. But also, I want to be the type of bookstore you come in if you're a really intellectual snob. I want you to come in and be able to find something. I want a deep backlist. So I don't want just cursory copies or the most newest copy from whatever author. I want you to be able to find 4 of that author's books if I can. My problem is space, because I just don't really have enough space, but I jam it in there as much as I can. And if you've been in there at Christmas, you have seen the amount of overstock that we carry on the tops of those. I mean, Susan was like, you're gonna put it on the top? I'm like, yes, we're gonna put it on the top, because where else are we gonna put it? We have a basement, but we don't have a second floor. So it's hard on the staff, to go up and down the stairs. So I just try to put it up above. So that's kind of how the store came about. So 2003, when they bought what is now Elm Street Books, it was originally in the Citibank building. That's down the corner by the train station. And it was just too big. The space was it was too big. The overhead was too enormous. And quite frankly, I like an intimate bookstore experience. I don't generally like the big box kind of feeling, which I think that store probably had. And so there were some issues, and it kind of floundered. And then Susan, God love her, went back to her friends and anyone she could probably find and said, would you be willing to put some more cash together, and we're going to do this differently. And she went and she took the course and there's a very famous course on how to run a bookstore. I have never taken it. I just gleaned knowledge from everyone else who has and figured it all out otherwise. And that group of investors has changed over the years now. Unfortunately, people have passed, but there's still 4 core investors. And amazingly, 3 years ago, when, I don't know if you knew Dick and Barbara Burns, when they passed, they gifted me their shares. Oh. And I have never been so grateful in my whole life. And I was so pleased because I wanted kind of a part of it, if I could have it, because it really just meant a lot to me, because I'd spent so much time trying to make it into a store, cultivate it into a store that people really wanted and supported. So I was just so gratified, and so I thank them literally every night. I thank God for them because it changed my life and it gave me purpose. So I'm really grateful about that. So as we move forward in the store, things have changed. When I took over, we have about 18 people on staff, if you can believe that. It's a lot of part-time. I mean, we don't have full-time people. I'm the only full-time person that's there. COVID came. We've always had a lot of part-time booksellers. When COVID hit, it changed the store for the better, in my opinion. COVID was really interesting because it showed me that this community would support us regardless of what happens. People shop. I put stuff out on those cars. I don't know if any of you shopped at the store during COVID. We had that bookcase out on the front of the store. I mean, we probably, 400 or 500 books in the time of COVID, puzzles, whatever people were doing. No one ever stole anything. No one ever. I had one occasion where someone.
You didn't put out the Harvard 5 book.
We didn't. We didn't have it. But it was unbelievable to me that it just was like no one. I mean, it also was the time too. I'm sure everyone was not going to steal something off of a bookcase. But no. We did that year. Melissa Thorkelson, who was my assistant manager at the time, we did 85 Easter baskets that Easter because we had all this candy that we had been holding since prior to COVID, because that's how we have to order. So seasonally, we get stuff very early. It was all packaged, but we got it in like whatever month that was. So by the time Easter hit, everyone's so panicked, about how do you get it? How does it transfer? Like, I'm not going to CVS to buy the jelly beans. And we had all this candy. So we were inundated. I've never made so many Easter baskets, and we delivered every single one of them. And so I think that things like that, because we're small enough that we can give you kind of a very personal experience, we will always deliver you a book. If someone calls me up, I did it this Christmas probably 5 or 6 times, someone can't get there, someone can't find parking, if someone is, elderly or ill or pregnant. I had a mom who needed all the books for her kids. She bought $1,700 worth of books, and she was like, I really cannot tell you, I have triplets. And I have all these people coming for Christmas, and I cannot get there. And so I said, if you can just send me a list of what you want or you think you want, we will do that for you. Can you wrap it in our Santa paper? Yes. Just have somebody drop it off, and we wrapped $1,700 worth of kids' books and adult books in Santa paper for this customer. I think that's what the store does. I think it does it really well. And I think because our staff are all New Canaan residents, I have 2 Wilton, which is essentially close enough. They're all just the same mindset.
You don't have any Darien.
We don't have any Darien. Our old manager was Darien.
They don't read though.
Yeah, they don't read. So interestingly, that's yes.
So.
No,
Sorry
don't be sorry. Don't be sorry. I think the store, and it's doing great. And this is what I'm going to tell you next, because every season I say we cannot possibly top what we did last year, and I think. We're running inventory right now, which you have to understand, we hand count 27,000 books.
Whoa.
We hand count them. And now you have to understand there is a better way to do that. There is a little electronic zapper for our inventory system that we could do, but apparently this is before my time, so over 15 years ago, they did that. And it was such a disaster that Susan said, never again. So we use our clipboards with our paper, and we can count every book. So that's what we're in the middle of doing right now. So once I get all those numbers in, we'll run everything, but I think we'll be up 6%, which is going to beat the industry. The industry, I think, is either flat or maybe up 2%, but we'll be up 6%. And I don't know. I think there's got to be a tipping point there somewhere, but I'm just going to say thank you so much in the interim for the improvements always. Events is our biggest growth. Eve Tabin came to me. We always had events, as you can imagine. We've been the bookseller for the New Canaan Library, for the Wilton Library, for the Stanford Library, for many years. Actually, before I ever even came on board, that was already in place. When the New Canaan Library rebuilt the building, that changed the whole game. Because not only did it give us a much bigger space, 400 people with the performing art stage at one end with the professional cooking kitchen at the other end, it just opened up a whole new unique opportunity for us to bring people who are coming up that 95 corridor, authors who are coming up that 95 corridor to come to New Canaan. And it has, and you will see, actually Eve just gave me that she went to a meeting and gave me all the different events that are coming. I don't know if any of you guys saw the guy from Notre Dame, the book.
didn't.
Did you? Supposedly that was great. I didn't go to
He's
that
my
event.
friend's husband.
Oh, okay. Well, hopefully, no,
He's an
I know you're a
amazing
bit
writer.
jaded, but perhaps you still thought he was great. Yeah.
It was jammed.
Yeah, it was jammed. We sold every single book.
Mhm.
And I also should preface this too with these book sales. We do one thing or another because we are at our core a philanthropy in many ways. It's really not. It's not a profitable business.
We don't get dividends.
We don't get dividends. We don't pay dividends because no one cares. None of the partners care. We pay minimum wage to our staff, and then we pay them out at the end. Because Susan Rein, who I've learned all of my financial acumen from, for better or worse, has said to me the one cost you can control is payroll. And so we pay people minimum wage, and they'll, everyone kind of knows that, and so I still turn people down all the time. But at the end of the year, based on our estimates, we pay out bonuses. And it's really mostly based on time, what their title is, how many hours they've worked in the course of the year, and if I've got like my children's buyer who brought in a lot of business this year, event business. So stuff like that. So we take all that into account and then we pay. So on average, our employees probably make close to $21 an hour once you pay them out their little bit of bonus. So just so you understand, like we're not sitting on a big load of cash. It doesn't work like that. So in light of that ideology, we either offer a discount to libraries when they buy their books. So if they're going to bundle an event, or if they're going to give the books away, we give them 10 to 20%. My margins are 45, generally. Some are less, some are more, depending. My wholesalers, 42%. Most of the publishers are about 45% is my discount. So I try to give libraries an opportunity to buy bulk books at a discount. And if they decide to buy at full price, then we give them a 10% donation at the end of any book sold. So we have kind of we've been able to continue that relationship with libraries because I think that's the reason why. And now that a Baker Taylor is no longer in business, which was the big purveyor of books for libraries, they've changed their business structure. They're not selling to libraries anymore. It's now going through our wholesaler, which is going to change that also. So we'll see how that affects kind of that whole process or how we operate, but so we'll see. But the library business, event business has gone from basically, when I took over, it was about $30,000 a year, and this year we did $225,000. So that's a big difference.
Yeah.
And we're getting much bigger authors. And we were just saying, with the guy that came for
I didn't miss out.
Yeah. We also have Simon Winchester coming. These were all the things we confirmed at the library. He just wrote a book called The Breath of the Gods. Who else do I have? I have a really big one coming, but I can't tell you because it's not confirmed yet. But it was our bestseller. So if you saw it in the window, it was a very red cover. He's coming in. But you did not hear it from me. And as far as fiction goes, we have Colm Toibin coming too, which will be good. And then we have Jim Calhoun, the coach of UConn, is coming. He was supposed to come before Christmas, but we had to reschedule that. Just some little things to look forward to. If you sign up for our website, or if you sign up on, give us your email, you'll get all the listings because we post everything on our website as well as the library website. So one way or another, you'll find out about our events. So our event business has probably been the biggest thing that we've grown, and it continues to look like there's a lot of hope we can continue to grow it even bigger. Because, like I said, as we have gone along, RJ Julia is always the gold standard in Connecticut, right? As you come up the corridor, that's the big bookstore. We're getting a lot of that business now. So we're getting them as they're moving up into to New England, to Boston, these authors. So they can put them on the tour. When they're on a tour, we don't have to pay them, which is nice. Not us, but the library doesn't have to pay them. So that's good. So that's also helpful to us, our business model. But I do worry when we have even like a 4%, 6% increase on the year, like how do we do it again? How do we do it again? Books are expensive. Books are getting more expensive. This was the most expensive hardcover Christmas I've had. This Steph Curry book was $55.
Well, sneakers are $400, so people.
Yeah, I guess it's all relative
It's all
to
relative.
sports equipment. But at some point you wonder, because like I said, this is a town that really supports big hardcover books. When do you stop buying them? When do you say, you know what, that's no longer something I can just justify?
He's going naked and without food.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Now, here's the other thing I was going to give you a little heads up. So, as you know, we just had Christmas. So our biggest bestsellers for Christmas this year, which I could probably do off the top of my head, but I'm going to look anyway. The one problem we had this year for Christmas was shipping. Shipping's always problematic, the pipeline. I don't know, everyone's blaming everybody else at the moment, at least in my little industry. Yeah, because I would have said, I thought our wholesaler is called Ingram, and its primary warehouse is in Tennessee, or pardon me, Pennsylvania. Sorry, I lied. Pennsylvania. Their secondary part of their warehouse is in Tennessee. So when you come into the store and order a book, generally I can say to you, John, if you order this book today before I put the order in at 10 o'clock, you should have it tomorrow. That's how we compete with Amazon, because we have to have something like that, right? Otherwise, we're literally dead in the water. Christmas comes along, that gets a little bit slower. It might be, maybe next day, day after, 2 days. Usually 2 days is max. Holy cow, this year was like 5. For the next day. Tennessee, which was our secondary warehouse, which normally takes, and we always warn you, 5 to 7 business days. This was up to 2 weeks. We were waiting for books to come from Tennessee. So it's hard to know if it's, the warehouse not being able to process the orders fast enough, quickly enough, or if it's shipping, if it's UPS.
Amazon's also slipping.
Yeah, they're getting very slow. That's always my kind of where I go to look. Like if someone says, I really want this book and I need it tomorrow, and then I'll look at Amazon, and if Amazon says they can't get it for 5 days, and I'm like, phew, because I'm not going to get it for at least 2 or 3 days. So this year, that was probably our biggest challenge. And then also too, because I think
over the holidays, man.
over the holidays.
Over the holidays.
Yeah, really starting from Thanksgiving, because my holiday season, even though it's really beginning of fourth quarter, like October 1, I mean, I work pretty much from October 15th clear through till Christmas Eve day. And I would say in that course of time, it started to slow down drastically right after Black Friday, which is kind of unusual for us. So if any of you shopped at the store, which I recognize most everyone in this room, I think you did. If you wanted 1929, sometimes I had it and sometimes I didn't, because I was waiting on orders coming from the publisher as well as from our wholesaler, if we were lucky. Correspondent, that was our probably biggest fiction seller. It's a great story written in letters. From an elderly woman to people in her life, and it was the kind of the biggest success story of the Christmas season. Again, I had it. I sold 375 copies of it. From basically the article, I think it was in the New York Times Wednesday, and then they regurgitated it for a Sunday review. From that moment on, it was just the most impossible book. I sell time up. Gales of November, the book about the Edmund Fitzgerald. That was one of my biggest nonfiction sellers. That I think was 60 Minutes did a thing on that. Again, that is just driving it. So, and then they cannot keep up with the demand. They can't print it fast enough. Because that's the other problem we have in the U.S. is we have one printer now.
Really?
It's China. And so then you run into problems with China because you have time problems and shipping problems, and it takes so long. But then you have quality problems because I had 14 cartons of a book that we were doing for an event that had to get shipped back because they were upside down in the book. Like they had just completely flip-flopped it. Stuff like that. It happens rarely, but we're seeing it a lot more problem. Or like foil covers. A lot of authors are just sold on foil covers where it's like that shiny. It is a nightmare. If you ever publish a book, do not pick the foil cover because I will tell you about 20% of the books that we get, once it goes through all the different, are bad. We have to send them back. Now, here's the good news. Bookstores are probably one of, if not the only retail industry where we get our money back for our inventory. The real problem though now is shipping because I have to pay the shipping to return it. So in the old days, which when I say old days, I mean like 3 years ago. 3 years ago, I could put 40 pounds in a box because I have a standard box that I use because I tried to make our return process a lot more streamlined instead of just all different size boxes. We have a 40-pound box. That used to cost me $38 on average to send back to all the big six or to Ingram. Now that is $66 in 3 years.
Price of diesel.
It's unbelievable to me. So like when before inventory, I send back all of the stuff that we didn't sell. We had some real duds. The Steph Curry book was a real dud. It was a very expensive book. It was very heavy. And I sold 11 copies. I had 50. That was
Probably
bad.
sold in California.
Yeah. And again, it's like, yes, regionally, but you never know. Because then, for instance, like the better sports book this season was called Masters of the Game, which probably I pushed a lot too because I knew the author and I had grown up with him and I love him. This guy named Sam Smith. He wrote the book about the NBA, all the all-stars in the NBA with Phil Jackson. So that also helps because you have a little celebrity push on it. That sold great. I sold 45 copies of it. So you just kind of never know. The other really dead book was the Kobe Bryant. There was a great coffee table book which was really no words. It was just pictures of all of the different memorials that had been made for him since his death. Some are beautiful. I know it sounds macabre, but beautiful like murals and someone just went and just compiled all of these. Did not sell one copy of it. I had 30 copies. So you just kind of never know. The American Revolution book, we were just talking about that. Keith, yeah, $80. I was like, this book, I got it. It weighed about 52 pounds. Like I got 4 in a box. Okay, that's the heavy book. So 4 in a box. We get the first round when the show's going, and I'm like, we are never gonna sell this. It's too heavy, and it's too much money. I sold all 4 copies. I reordered it 10 times, and I ended up selling 86 copies in this town. Now that also could just be, yeah. And as he said, like, I thought the show was great, but yeah, they do watch PBS.
Was that based on the Ken Burns?
Yeah.
On the Ken Burns. Sorry, I wasn't clear. The American Revolution, the Ken Burns company. Yes.
I'm a little surprised
Yeah.
that books are getting so expensive because I kind of was under the impression that so many people have moved toward online reading, Audible,
Yes.
downloading things onto their iPad and things like that. So
Yeah.
what do the authors tell you? Is that the majority of their business, or is the majority of the business still print?
It depends. It depends on the author very, very much. Because if you have someone like an Ellen Hildebrand, it's almost equal. She's a really good friend of mine, so that's why I kind of know her stats because I ask her. She's almost 33% print, 33% electronic, and 33% her contract, and what she sells is Audible. So for someone who's that popular, she's pretty evenly keeled. If you're a small author, first-time author, even if with a big book deal, it's mostly going to be paper. And the reason books are so expensive is because of COVID. We knew it was coming down the pipeline. They said the price of paper was going to almost double, if not triple. And so it's the price of paper, just like coffee, where we've seen, it's just
So it's
gone
not
up.
a supply-demand thing? with the
Not
print.
as far as I can tell.
It's the cost of paper.
And it was just a delay. We knew it was coming. It was just a delayed kind of situation.
Okay.
And it's also the quality of the paper too, what they're choosing. Some of these more expensive books, like the Obama book was probably the first one, his tome, which was about 80 pages, 480 pages. That was some of the heaviest paper stock that I had seen in a very long time. And that was the most expensive nonfiction book that season, which was, I think, $48 at the time. That set the record. Oh yeah, I can take any questions. I'm happy.
I'm just curious
Yeah.
from the author's
Yeah.
perspective.
Yes.
What do they make on a book, and do they make
Yeah.
more, depending on how it's
Yeah.
delivered? Because I know like the libraries get crushed with electronic books.
Yeah. The best scenario for an author is hardcover. They make the most money. They make almost 30% off the hardcover retail price. Not even the wholesale price, the retail price. So that's why you'll see books like All the Light We Cannot See, the Anthony Doerr. They renegotiated that contract over and over and over for him because he made the most money as long as it stayed on the bestseller list. Does that make sense? If it goes to paperback, they make 5 cents.
5 cents?
5 to 7 cents on a paperback.
No way.
Yeah. So they don't want, I mean, if you're a big author, you want it to stay. That's why that bestseller list. So I should also tell you this. So we report to every Monday, we report our sales to BookScan, which is for pretty much everybody except the New York Times. The New York Times, of course, because it's the New York Times, you have to report to them directly. And your sales. And so that is why that is so important for them to stay on the bestseller list. And that will also generate their next contract. So for like Ellen, like she just wrote this book with her daughter, which was fine, the Academy, it sold really well. Like for anybody else's, it would be a dream to have the success she had with that book. But for her, that was like probably her worst book as far as sales. So it's just a fascinating
So what do
thing.
they make off digital?
Yeah, so that's different. So that's all separately negotiated. And that I don't actually know, but it's still is pales in comparison to the
So it's
paper.
closer to the paperback than it is the hardcover.
Yeah, you're still not. Now, as time goes on and as that shifts, if those sales become much far greater, then my guess is it will overtake the paper version.
Are there bookstores that actually make money as opposed to,
We do.
but you say you're
We
not,
pay it out.
you're not in the business to make money.
We're not in the business to make
Are
money.
there stores that actually make money and because they want to make money as opposed to?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're a sole purveyor, I mean, like Richard at Square Books in Oxford, he has 3,
Okay.
and he's making money. Wendy Hudson, my friend who runs Mitchell's and now Bookworks, she's making money.
Okay.
It's just a matter of kind of what you need, I guess,
Children's books, what
Yeah.
percentage are they of your business?
Yeah, children's books is falling, as you can probably imagine. I mean, when you think of in 7 years or whatever the stat is now that, 7 years ago, 20% of kids had a phone, now 95% of them, teenagers, they were saying 12 to 18, so they were looking more at teenage age bracket. Yeah, well, it used to be we were about 30% of our book sales was children's books. Now I think we're closer to 22. This year, we'll see. It's falling. Why the young adult is almost like a joke. I mean, we have it because I feel like if you don't have it, it doesn't seem, complete. And you want to attract that kid. You really want that kid to come in and read. But, the graphic novel thing has really changed because now we're finding, so for instance, like if your kid read Magic Tree House, do you remember that series?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a really good example. So graphic novels became kind of a way to compete with phones to get young kids to read a book because it's like a comic book, but it's bigger, it costs a little bit more money, has words in it, it's got an actual arc of a story, it follows, right, okay. So a lot of schools adopted that, and so like we had this explosion of graphic novels now what they're doing is they're taking all these series and they're making graphic novels out of each one of those books to compete because the kid doesn't want to sit and read actual words. They just want to look at the pictures and read like 4% of the words, which is it's something like 4 or 6% of the actual stories in the graphic novel. Yeah, so kids' books are hard. We had a great bestseller this year called A House with a Little Red Door. It was kind of a quiet, beautiful picture book that probably every grandparent and parent bought, but I hope the kid's reading it. What we're seeing in the industry and what we're kind of recognizing, and you all know this, is that the only way you get a kid to read a book is if you read it in front of them, your own book. It helps for you to read to them also, of course, but they emulate you, and they have that picture of you reading. If you're reading a magazine, if you're reading a newspaper, if you're reading something other than your phone, that has a greater impact on the fact that that kid will pick up a book later than anything you can almost do.
Yeah. I'm so glad you make the store look so interesting, and we were just talking about how, on the left-hand side going in, but when I think of the towns that I visited in Connecticut and up Vermont, all kinds of places, I almost always go to the bookshop, and I remember the bookshop in the town, and I associate the quality of the bookshop with the quality of the town, fairly or unfairly.
Yeah.
But I mean, I know Madison, has a phenomenal bookshop. Manchester, Vermont has a North Shore bookshop, and they still send me information about what's going on. So I just think that having a really valuable little jewel in town in the bookshop adds enormously to people's perception of our town. So I really thank you for making it so
I
attractive.
hope so. Yay, I hope so. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening to me ramble on. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
Manda,
Thank
I'll
you.
give you an idea for, you can patent
Yes,
this.
yes, go.
You need to get the publishers put a clear tissue paper over those foil covered books, you'll save them 20% return.
And that's what they do in the UK. That's what they do in the UK. Yeah, that makes so much sense. Good idea. Good idea. Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Back in the line for, back
Yeah.
here next week and help with the cleanup, thanks.